Hello, I just wanted to give you a quick update on my new book club book, which is going to be Jaqueline Wilson, Think Again. And reading the description of what it was about, I was very like, this is a very typical book club book. And I wasn't particularly looking forward to reading it, but then I found out that it's Jaqueline Wilson, the very, very famous children's book author who does lots of really progressive books about LGBT issues and feminism and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, well, maybe it will be good. But then really struggled to find the book the book is quite new, so it's still quite expensive. And even used, I couldn't find it for anything cheaper than £15, and I can't really afford to spend that much on a book that I probably maybe won't like that much. So I was like, oh, I don't think I can read this book, which is very sad because it's gonna be my last official book club book for this book club anyway. But then I so happened to have to go to a work event by bus, and I get horrible motion sickness. So I was like, what do I do for 3.5 hours in a bus? Since, I can't look at my phone, can't read, can't watch anything on the tablet or anything. And then my husband had a great idea, and he was like, why don't you see if, you can have an audiobook? And now normally I don't really like audiobooks. I'm not a fan of them, but I haven't really properly listened to an audiobook. But then I was like, wait a moment. And then he was like, oh, maybe the book that you were looking for, maybe they have that. So I was like, good idea. So I checked, and it did have it. So I did a trial with Audible, and I'm listening to it right now. And it will be really great to have it on my bus ride, because I have nothing else to do. So I managed to still get to it, and I will be listening to it, and I will keep you updated on what I think. Hey, I'm about halfway through, and I'm about to be on a bus to a friend's, which means I'm going to read a bit more, or listen. So far I'm not super impressed. Unfortunately, it's very stereotypical of these type of books. Very predictable. Don't like the main character. Yeah, I'm hoping that something will happen in the second half of the book that will make me go, oh, actually, this is interesting. But so far, no luck. Right, I am back to talk to you about Think Again by Jaqueline Wilson. I had to think of the title then. I have finished the book, finished listening to it on audiobook, as I was saying. I have my laptop there because I made notes on my phone while I was listening to it, but my phone is recording, so I can't. So I had to get my notes up on here. Overall, sadly, I was quite disappointed. I know that Jaqueline Wilson is a massive author. She's done so many children's books that are very well lauded for having super complex characters, really interesting storylines, very realistic storylines that go beyond maybe the typical children's book. She's also known for being very progressive, very feminist, very LGBTQ plus friendly. So I actually haven't ever read any of her books, but I was told all this by people who are like massive fans of her. So I came into this book thinking like, okay, this is like, from the description of what it was, I was like, this is like a midlife crisis, a woman, you know, finding herself sort of thing. But I was hoping for something a little more nuanced and more substance than that. But unfortunately, I didn't get it. Like, I mean, already halfway through kind of said that I wasn't like super into it. But yeah, it just all felt very, very surface level. The characters felt kind of very, like, there was no depth to them. And maybe it's just the case of Jaqueline Wilson being an amazing children's book author, but just not a great, like, adult fiction author. And that's okay, you know? And apparently I've literally just had my book club about it today as well. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be one of those where I think it wasn't great. And everybody else going to be like, oh my God, it's amazing. But no, everybody actually agreed that it was a bit meh. And one of the members said that apparently a lot of the reviews have said, like, children's book authors shouldn't write adult fiction. Which isn't necessarily true. There's a lot of people who write both very successfully. But it certainly, for me personally, it wasn't very successful. It was very predictable. Like, I knew from the first chapter how the book was gonna go, sort of thing. And just from the little blurb as well. I found all the conversations very surface level. I think, I don't know if I said, but I'm not a huge fan of audiobooks. I haven't really listened to much on audiobooks. And this book certainly did not convert me. I love Carrie Hope Fletcher. She's an amazing actress, writer, performer. But I didn't think that, like, she did a great Ellie, I think. But some of the other voices she did for the characters, to me, felt extremely, like, over-the-top, stereotypical. And there was one character that had an accent, and to the end, I could not figure out what the accent was. To me, it was, like, and I'm not very good with accents, so I could be wrong. But I just, like, it was some weird mix between Indian and Eastern European. I was like, what is she supposed to actually, like, just don't do the accent if you can't do the accent. Like, it was just not great. Yes, so unfortunately for me, I ended up at a 2.5 out of 5. It wasn't a horrible book. It wasn't like, ugh, gouge my eyes out. It wasn't Verity, right? But it was certainly, it was just disappointing. I think I had expected a lot more from Jaqueline Wilson because of who she is as an author. And I just didn't get that. And it was just all very meh, very mid, very sort of... So yeah, it's a 2.5, and I'll do a little, like, spoilery section now. But also, like, I think maybe I don't like books from first-person perspective, because the book is written... Well, I listened to it from first-person perspective. Maybe listening to it made it even worse. Because it's literally, like, the thoughts into my head, right? But it was like... Because when you listen to something from first person, you get all of the, like, insecurities, all the judgmental thoughts. And I just started hating Ellie as a character. I was like, oh my God, she's so judgmental and so insecure. But she's also like a Mary Sue type character in some way. Like, she reminded me of some of those fantasy heroines that I really do not like. That are like, oh, I'm just so plain. Oh, nobody likes me. But then everybody's like in love with them and tells them how gorgeous they are. And they can do everything that they said I don't mind to. Like, I just wasn't there for it. And actually, I was much more interested in any of the stories around Ellie. Like her friends, her daughter, her Alice, the new friend she makes. I wanted to know more about all of them rather than about Ellie. Like, I was like, I'm not interested in you at all. Yeah. So this is me. This is my review, and I'll do a little spoilery section now. Until whatever time I put here. I need my glasses so I can see what it says there. So basically I didn't really talk about what the book is about. I just realized I'll do a little bit about what the book is actually about. So the book is about Ellie, who just turned 40. She isn't married, but she has a child. And it's sort of about, like, she just had, like, lost her job, and it's about her it's kind of hard to describe because the whole book is basically just about her living her life and kind of trying to find a love and trying to find herself and what she wants to do with her life, which she finds out basically in the first chapter. But yeah, so that's what the book is about. That's why I didn't talk about it, because, like, there wasn't much plot. Like, very little. But anyways, here comes the spoiler section. So at the beginning of the book, Ellie has just lost her job. Ellie is not feeling great. She wants to lose weight. She feels that she's very curvy, very chubby. Although apparently she isn't. Everybody keeps telling her she isn't. And it's very interesting because it's very much only hinted at. But she does say a few times that she was close to being anorexic when she was younger. But, like, not fully anorexic. Like, when you're flirting with it a little bit. But, like, nobody cares about it. She doesn't really care about it. It's not... It almost feels like oh, that was nice sort of thought, rather than this is why her body image is so poor and she needs to work through that and learn how to love herself, which doesn't really happen in the book. And I just thought the fact that anorexia was mentioned so off the cuff and not dealt with was quite disappointing. A little bit dangerous. It was almost like trivializing anorexia and eating disorders, which I was not a fan of. Sorry, Jaqueline Wilson, like, I don't know what you were thinking there. So yeah, she doesn't feel great. She's just lost her job. She's an art illustrator, but she also teaches. So she's still teaching, but she lost her job at The Guardian. And she decides to go swimming because she loves swimming, and she meets a new woman called Alice, who is this stunning, I believe black or mixed race woman, beautiful, younger, and basically straight away I was like, oh, is she gonna fall for her? Because, like, this is beautiful, and maybe it's because I'm bisexual, but it was like, this is beautiful, like, being, she's gonna fall for her. I just immediately had that thought. A lot of people in the book club were like, that came out of left field, and I was like, really? I saw it from, like, the first time they met. But she doesn't really, she is into men, so she kind of just starts having a friendship with Alice. And actually what she thinks about doing now that she lost her job is starting a graphic novel about elephants, which she's always thought about. And Alice, so conveniently, happens to be an animal behaviorist who apparently only deals with elephants because that's all she has, like, photos of elephants everywhere. Like, even though I would assume that she deals with other animals too, apparently she doesn't. It's all about elephants, and that's all they ever talk about. Ever. Pretty much. It's a deep relationship, that one. Like, the whole relationship is like, I made some drawings of my elephants. What do you think? These elephants look great. Well done, Ellie. And that's the relationship. Anyway, I feel like I'm really mean. But it's like, so yeah, so they kind of build a friendship around Alice supporting Ellie with like drawing these pictures and like giving her photographs so she can make them really realistic, blah blah blah. Now at the same time, she's also friends with Nadine and Magda, who she's been friends with in school, and apparently this is a like sequel to the girls' novels that Jaqueline Wilson wrote as children's books, and which apparently lots and lots of people have read. I have not read them. So she's still friends with those two friends. One of them is very like, she's kind of goth, and she's very loose, and she just likes having affairs and being with men. She's not super into being tied down or having children or anything like that, whereas her other friend is already like about to be married for the third time to a guy that she's really in love with, who has kids. And there's some bits there about like her struggling to deal with the kids, which I was like, oh my god, I want to know more of that. Like I say, I was more interested in any of the surrounding stuff than into that stuff. Anyway, and then actually falls pregnant from Chris as well. And then obviously we find out Alice is gay. Alice is in a relationship with a woman. Alice actually really struggled because her parents are not accepting of her homosexuality. Again, that was a story I was much more brought into. And then it so happens that Ellie meets a former art teacher of her that she had a crush on, and starts having a sexual relationship with him. And their relationship is basically all about the sex and the fact that she doesn't really like him. Like initially she thinks she likes him, but then quite quickly realizes that she finds him quite grating, quite judgmental, quite wanting to control all the situations, like making all the decisions. And her friends are all like, oh, that's just her being a man. And you're like, is it though? And it's like, she just doesn't like that. She finds it very independent. She was like, it's very interesting because she's like, I want a compassionate man, blah, blah, blah. And I think at some point her friends are like, oh, so you want a woman? And I'm like, you know, you can ask for a man that like is compassionate and maybe not like super controlling without wanting to be gay. As a bisexual, that is possible. But it was very much like, if you want that, then you're gay. And then throughout the book, basically, she realizes that she's less and less into Gary and more into Alice, to the point where she starts fantasizing about being with Alice while she is with Gary. It's all very icky for me. I'm like, just break up with Gary. And there's like, there were points where I paused the audiobooks and literally went like, because you're gay for her. Like she repeatedly says things like, it almost feels like jealousy. But why would I be jealous? And I'm like, because you are gay for her. I mean, that's putting aside the fact that there is no point at which anybody thinks maybe she's bisexual, because she's clearly attracted to men, yet she's also clearly attracted to her, and maybe she's bisexual. But again, bisexuals are being erased quite often in these kind of situations. It's either gay or straight. Anyways. So she keeps thinking like, why am I feeling like that? And I don't understand, like what I really struggled with was that I did not understand why it was so difficult for her to just accept that maybe she was having like sexual attraction to Alice. Because first of all, you can be sexually attracted to a woman even if you are straight. It happens. And secondly, like her brother is gay. She already knows her family is very accepting of it. All her friends keep going like, are you gay? People keep mistaking them as a couple. So it's like, why are you like fighting this so much? Like I would have understood it if it was Alice, who was like, you know, who had parents who weren't approving of it, blah, blah, blah. But sorry, my animals are down there. But she like, I don't know, she just fought it for so long, and I was like, why are you fighting it? So we had the whole book essentially being about Ellie moaning about Gary but then still shagging him all the time, then complaining to her friends who are like, I don't understand why you're complaining. and her being all like, I'm so into Alice, even though all we talk about is elephants. I feel like really mean. But then, like, at the very end of the, like, literally, that's the end of the book, they confess their feelings for each other, because obviously Alice is also in love with Ellie, because that's that kind of book. And then it, like, finishes before there's anything else. And I found out subsequently that Jaqueline Wilson actually is gay, and that she came out later in life as well. And I was like, it just felt to me like the book was afraid of being gay, which was very disappointing to me, because Jaqueline Wilson is known for actually being very, like, positive about the LGBTQ movement. She's like a gay icon apparently, but it's like she didn't want to, she wrote so much straight sex. She was like, I don't want to write the gay sex. I don't, like, I would have been more interested in a little bit, like half the book being about the whole Gary and her discovering her, you know, potential sexual feelings for a woman, and then like about their relationship and her navigating that new understanding. But no, the book kind of just ended when they kissed, basically. Yeah. I just didn't understand why the book seemed so scared of being gay, if that makes sense. Is there anything else that I forgot? Oh yes, at the very beginning, there was a moment where only Ellie had ever met Alice. And then there was a moment, I don't even know what it was, but I was like, ooh, is Alice imagined? And maybe it was going back to boy parts, right? But I was like, ooh, that would be an interesting book. And I was suddenly very into the book, but that didn't happen. And I knew that like half a chapter later. But I was like, oh, that would have been interesting. Like discussing mental health and like, anyways. Yeah, I mean, there was a bit about her daughter who essentially never wanted to meet her father, but then wants to meet her father because her grandfather suffers a cardiac event, I believe. And she gets very like, oh, my daughter wants to meet her father. Which I suppose in a way I can understand, but I was like, and again, I was more interested into that, and that doesn't go anywhere. Like, we don't know what happens with that. So, yeah, I don't know. The book was... It just disappointed me. Jaqueline Wilson, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. It could have, like, I think, considering what the bare bones of this book were, like a woman discovering maybe a new sexual identity, a woman navigating being 40, navigating her own body, it could have been a great book. But it felt so surface level. It felt very like, oh, just write a little bit. And somebody in my book club actually said it felt like somebody writing about things that they haven't themselves experienced, which I found very interesting, because Jaqueline Wilson obviously has gone through being 40, probably has gone through not feeling great about her body image, like pretty much every woman, and clearly went through finding out she was gay. So, like, I don't understand why the book was so meh, and so predictable, and it lacked spark. Sorry, Jaqueline Wilson.